Lloyd's of London is to create a new European hub in Brussels to limit the potential damage of Brexit. The world's oldest and biggest insurance market made the announcement, which confirmed a story broken by Sky News last weekend, less than 24 hours after the triggering of Article 50. The move will see around 100 staff move to the Belgian capital, the heart of the European Union. Well, Damien Gabriel is the Lloyd's of London chief executive. Without getting too technical, why are you doing this?
Yeah, well, it is a bit technical, I'm afraid. Our industry, our insurance sector, is really highly regulated, and quite rightly so, for protection of policyholders and customers. But there are very intricate licensing regulations, and when the UK exits the EU, we will lose the licence to provide insurance to EU customers.
This is passporting, essentially.
Yes, yeah, the passporting. So that disappears. It disappears for about 5% of our global business, which is an important number for us. But importantly, we can't provide the specialist type of insurance that we do for the EU customers. Hence, we've got to be within the EU to be able to continue to provide insurance. And we chose Brussels.
And why did you choose Brussels?
Yeah, well, we've been working on it ever since the referendum outcome last June. So we've had a few months at it. But it was quite a difficult decision, actually, to make, because we looked at all the various options, all the various countries within the EU. And they were very closely sort of tied in terms of what the benefits were and what they offered. Difficult decision, but we came out with Brussels. It's got a really robust and quality regulatory environment. Again, very important for the insurance sector. And particularly for Lloyd's, we've got an amazingly global brand. It's known all over the world, but a very, very solid reputation. And it was important to match that reputation with the regulatory reputation. Also, access to talent is going to be important, as we need to hire people. And multilingual, calibre talent available from our perspective in the country. And also, we had to look at the accessibility. We're going to have to be travelling between London and the EU sub. We're going to want easy access to the rest of continental Europe. So Brussels came out really top on that list as well. One more thing, though. We wanted to make sure we chose a country that was very likely to stay in the EU in the future.
Right.
And we thought Belgium would hit the mark on that.
And the jobs that you're creating over there, are these jobs that are going to be relocated from London, or are these new positions?
A lot of them are actually going to be brand new positions, because we've got a new subsidiary we're going to have to run. We're going to have to have somebody to run it. We're going to have various senior roles appointed. So a lot of the roles will actually be brand new rather than transfers. Right. There will be some transfers. But just to let you know, in terms of the numbers of people, we've actually got people in various EU countries already. They will become employees of that EU sub in Brussels, but they're likely to be based in the countries of origin at the moment, whether it's Germany, France, Spain, Italy. So the actual hub in Brussels is likely to only have 10 or 20 people at the outset, and we'll have about 60 across the EU in total.
Right, but the key thing is this isn't at London's expense necessarily.
It shouldn't be. It's about securing that business, which ultimately, of course, will still come back to London because it's Lloyd's. So, the revenues will come in and the profit streams will still come back to the parent. And I think that's an important thing to consider. And for Lloyd's, of course, London will still be our home.
Yeah, you're not changing the name to Lloyd's of Brussels or anything like that?
No, we're not. And 40% of our business comes from the US, and Brexit doesn't affect that at all, our ability to trade and continue to write in the US.
Do you think other insurers and reinsurers will follow you to Brussels?
Some reinsurers are already set up. Some insurers are making decisions now. I don't believe that Brussels will become an insurance centre for the whole of the EU. I think there are various factors that other businesses will take into account. So you'll see a range of locations, from going to Dublin in Ireland, from Luxembourg, Germany, France perhaps. We've gone with Belgium.
Interestingly, the Irish complained recently that some cities were fighting dirty in an attempt to lure in those businesses that were looking to set up alternative hubs from London. Have you seen any evidence of that?
Nothing dirty, but we did have lots of discussions. So since June last year, it obviously took us a few months to gather and get our thoughts together about our approach. And since then, over the last 6 months, we've been having discussions with all of them. I can tell you they've all been behaving very professionally. We've been having, in some cases, very lengthy and detailed discussions. And we just had to make a decision at the end of the day.
Very briefly, you've got your results out today. Hurricane Matthew was the big payout for you this year.
We saw an increase in large claims in 2016 over the prior year, which was a very benign year. Hurricane Matthew, we're in the business for providing protection for when the wind blows or the earth shakes, so that was a big loss. And we also paid out quite a considerable amount on the Alberta wildfires, the Fort McMurray wildfires in Canada. Very tragic events, but we were there to support the communities.